So RB got added to Master Duel not too long ago, so today we're gonna have a look at the Crystron RB hybrid deck that I have already been playing in the TCG for quite a while since the new RB second wave came out in the TCG. So this is basically a Crystron deck with a small RB engine, which kind of explains why the deck looks the way it is. I'll try to explain why certain ratios are the way that they are in the deck. But basically, the main question that a lot of people ask me when I show them my deck is that, why aren't I playing the stage landings, right? And where are the other RBs? Why are there only like 5 RB cards in this entire deck? People will tell you that RB is a good deck for going second because it has a lot of tools for breaking boards, which is kind of true, but for the deck to be good at going second, you really need stage landing. So stage landing is basically the heart and soul of the deck. You just summon an RB from your deck or extra deck, and it's not once per turn. So what you do is just you keep using this card to summon your RBs, and then that's how you basically gain a lot of advantage, especially when you go to second, because it just activates and then your opponent kinda has to negate it, or the monster just sticks on the field. And it also has like the protection when it's in the graveyard by banishing itself for protection. But the issue with that is that not only are you forced to run a whole bunch of bricks, because if we look at the RB cards, the cards that you need to play when you go second to actually break boards are GA10 Pile Bunker, which is the board wipe, and also maybe Valkyrie Rocket. You can maybe like shave this off if you want, but at least you must play the Pile Bunker because that's like the way that you actually board wipe your opponent. So that is even more bricks in the already really bricky deck, right? And the issue with relying on stage landing as like the centerpiece of the entire deck is that it really limits the options of the stuff that you can play, because stage landing has the restriction that you cannot summon from the extra deck the turn you activate this card except machine monsters with 1500 or less original attack, and that is for the entire turn. So even before you activate the stage landing, you cannot summon monsters that are outside of the restriction, because if you do, you cannot activate the stage landing to summon a monster. There's another card that locks you, which is a Valkyrie Booster, but this only locks you after you use the effect. So it is not like a whole turn lock. You can do anything that you want to do before you activate the effect, and then after you're done with everything, you can then use the effect to lock yourself, and you're gonna be completely fine. So the issue is that if you rely on stage landing so much, this lock is going to come up, and it will be fine if the RB deck is good enough that you can play it pure and still be good. But the biggest issue that everybody talks about with RB is it has a really big draw issue. If you get hit by draw and lockbird, your end board gets really low, and it can end you with no interruptions at all, depending on the cards that you open with. So, and not only that, the deck also really struggles against other cards like Fualos or even Perulia, and I guess Maxi, but I guess every deck loses to Maxi anyway. But the point is that there's a lot of stuff that the pure RB deck loses to, and the stage landing lock really limits the amount of options that you can be playing to kind of get around the weaknesses of the RB deck. But you really want to activate stage landing because that's like the main way you are doing your combo, especially when you go second. So what we're doing with this deck is that we are completely abandoning the stage landing combos. We're not playing a single copy of stage landing, and instead we're only relying on Valkyrie Booster as the way to RB combo. And as a supplement, we are playing a pure Crystron engine, which is our main engine. The RB is a side engine. We are playing only 5 RB cards. The pure Crystron engine with Tidal is because pure Crystrons pretty much plays through every hand trap if you know how to play the deck. The deck does not care about draw at all, except for like the 1-card combos, but like even like the only 1-card combo that loses to draw is exactly Smiger, but even if you open with like Inclusion, that also plays through draw. Like the deck's really good into draw, and it can just like face tank a bunch of hand traps like Fuwalos, Perulia, or even like Maxi, because what you can do is just you can stop summoning and then just end on a half board. The half board is pretty good. It has 2 to 3 interruptions plus like all the follow-up that you will ever need. So more than enough of a half board that the deck can make even under pretty much every hand trap. And also, the deck, even though it machine locks, it makes Cyber Dragon Infinity, and this is a really good card. It's an omni-negate that pretty much makes a deck really difficult to hand trap, even if you're not facing against like a draw or something, because once the Infinity hits the field, you have a negate to negate a hand trap. But the issue with pure Crystrons as like a pure deck is always that the ceiling of the deck is not very high. So the highest that you will ever get realistically is like an Infinity, 1 or 2 Dawn Dragsters, and then the Trap. And that's like not a lot. That's only like 1 monster negate, so if they have like 2 really good monster effects, you're just dead. So this is basically where the RB cards come in, because RB is really good as a going first combo. You can just use any 2 machine monsters that you have left over to make Valkan Booster, and by the time you make Valkan Booster, Infinity is already on the field, so you can do the entire RB combo while you have the negate on the field. And even if they play through the negate, they have like 2 Veilers or something, you still have at minimum 1 Infinity and the Trap. So it's really good at going first. You can basically do the whole RB combo under Infinity, and if your opponent does not have any way to stop you, you do both the Crystron combo and the RB combo, which is basically, you just basically win the game on the spot, because the end board is Infinity, the Trap, the Hand Rip from Lambda Cannon, and by the way, when you summon a monster with Lambda Cannon, you can summon it in attack position and then immediately attach it to your Cyber Dragon Infinity. So not only do you Hand Rip, you immediately get rid of the card, and you even stop it from going to the graveyard because it is under the Infinity as a material. And not only that, you know, you have the Infinity, the Trap, the Hand Rip, you also have the Counter Trap that negates any monster effect, a Monster Steal, and a Spell Trap Negate. And you have Tristaros that can go into a Dawn Dragster, so that's like more negates than you'll ever need, and especially with the Hand Knowledge and the Hand Rip, that's like, you pretty much just win if you do the combo. But realistically, your opponent will have a way to stop you if they have like 1 or 2 hand traps, or like a lingering hand trap like a Droll or Fuwalos. If you get hit by a Droll or Fuwalos, the advantage of playing Crystron RB is that you can always fall back into the Crystron combo, because the way you get into the RB combo is via the Crystron combo, which means if you get hit in the middle of comboing, you can just end on the Crystron half board and still be okay. And by dropping all of the stage landings and all of the bricks associated with the stage landing, like the Bile Bunkers or like the 2nd and 3rd copies of Bunk Dock and like GA10 Driller or Valkan Rocket, by dropping all of these cards, this deck has a lot of non-engine space, which can help basically cover the weakness of having a less good going second engine. So we are playing 3 Veilers, the 1 Maxi, 3 Ash Blossom, 3 Bells, 3 Imperm, and also, interestingly, we can play Impulse, because the RB engine is only for going first. If you go second, you do pure Crystron combos and you do not summon a single RB monster. You just don't go into Rocket at all, because you can just do the pure Crystron combo lines and then just throw hand traps at your opponent. And that is the way that you win games going second, which means if you go second, the impulse lock does not matter at all. And if you go first, you can just set the impulse. So if you play this deck in the TCG like I did, what you'll do is you won't main deck any Mochamis. You'll put all the Mochamis in the side deck, like 3 Purulia, 3 Fualos. And when you know that you're going second post side, you side out every single RB card. You take them all out and then you put in the Mochamis. So the deck just becomes pure Crystrons with like 21 hand traps. And that will be enough to win the games without needing to play all of the really bad RB bricks that you never want to draw. And if you go first, you can put back all the RB cards in, and even if you draw the RB pieces, it's fine if you go first because they are just extenders at worst, right? So that's the idea of the deck. I really like this idea, and I really think that people should at least experiment with this idea more, because I see literally no one play Crystron RBs like this. If at all, I don't even see anyone play like any version of Crystron RB, even though I think this deck really has the potential. But yeah, let's have a look at some replays so I can actually show you what I'm talking about. So in our first replay, this shows you what we do going first. This deck has a really good 1-card combo, so Smiger or Inclusion or Foolish Burial is full combo, but the deck strength is as the same as pretty much the pure Crystron deck, which is that the 2-card or 3-card combos can pretty much play through any hand trap. So because we drew a lot of engine pieces, we can normal summon Tristaros as the first monster that we summon, so that pretty much insulates all of our stuff from any hand traps that our opponent might have, but they don't have any, so we can just synchro them off. And this is something that you can do in Master Duel, because when you can detect that your opponent doesn't have a delay, you can safely just synchro off the Tristaros, because not a lot of people know how to use the toggle correctly. So now we can just make Infinity, and then summon 2 machines on our field, and we have the Infinity and Tristaros on our field the entire time we do the RB combo. So we can just use 2 machines, do full RB combo by making Vulcan Booster. We already have the field spell, so we're not searching anything with the link to. And then we can just hand rip. We see our opponents playing a bunch of nonsense. They know that they're losing this game immediately, so they won't even let us play. Okay, in this second replay, it's a pretty short one. It basically shows you what this deck does when it goes second. So our opponent's playing heroes. We have a bunch of hand traps, so all we're gonna do is throw all of our hand traps to all of our opponent's interactions. This deck doesn't want your opponent to play at all, so as soon as your opponent does an action, you immediately throw a hand trap, because this deck's ability to break boards is really bad. So our opponent will normal summon Vion, we immediately Ash it. Our opponent activates Max Change, we immediately Impulse it. Then we activate Inclusion, that's a 1-card combo, our opponent scoops. So most of your games, when you go second, will look like this. Like you hand trap your opponent, and then your turn begins, you do some combo, and then your opponent scoops. So yeah. So after 2 pretty short replays, this replay is a much more long one that shows you kind of the synergies between the Crystron deck and the RB deck. So we're going first. We have a lot of Crystron cards, and because we are basically going to the RB combos through the Crystron line, we have a really good line into pretty much every hand trap our opponent might have. They have Maxi, which is like the worst out of all the hand traps that they could possibly have, but it's still okay. We can just still change Tristaros. They will imperm Tristaros, which is also okay because we still keep the Tristaros, which means we can still synchro on our opponent's turn. So we'll summon back to Sulfador, and the Sulfador will send 2 cards. So we can't search the trap because we already used the effect of Smiger. So we're just gonna send another Smiger for follow-up and then just set 1 and pass turn. Opponent will add a Kepler to their hand, and then normal summon the Kepler will immediately try to negate it, but we can first change the stars and then activate the Veiler on Chainlink 3. That is something that you should be very familiar of doing if you play this deck. You always want to change the stars to your opponent's effects as soon as you could. And then you can chain something like a Veiler or Imperm on Chainlink free, because those cards don't matter what Chainlink that they are on. They don't need to respond immediately to your opponent's effects, unlike the Tristaros. The opponent will immediately threaten Dragster by using Talents, so that will use up our negate. And then our opponent will continue to extend. The only thing that I'm worried about is exactly Gilgamesh, because that's the thing that we want to negate. We'll negate that, and that pretty much ends their turn, because the thing that they added to their hand needs to be summoned, and they already used their normal summon. So all they can do now is make Machinex and hope for the best. They can punchable our Spell Trap Negate, which is okay. This is where the Crystron part comes in, because unlike RB, Crystron has really insane follow-up, and you can just play from the graveyard. Like, all of your stuff just sits in your graveyard, and then you just get to full combo every single turn. So we can immediately summon our Tristaros as soon as possible, so if our opponent has any effects, we can at least chain the Tristaros in response. We'll make Nova and Infinity without even triggering the Machinex, because Machinex can only trigger if we activate a monster effect on the field, but everything that we activated so far is in the graveyard. We will now threaten the Machinex. He will try to steal it, we will negate it, he will negate with Imperm, we will chain Tristaros. So even though Infinity will be yoinked by his Machinex, we basically force out all of his interruptions, and now we are just free to do whatever we want. But there's still a big problem, because he still has the DDD guy in the extra deck that can summon itself when we destroy his guy by battle, so it's kind of difficult for us to OTK this turn. We have Chanbara, which is actually a pretty good card. I definitely recommend playing this in pure Crystron, because it does come up a lot more often than you might think. In situations like these where you just want to push full game. Our opponent unfortunately just can body block with Queen Machinex and block an attack and then place it in the pen zone, and also popping our Chanbara. But that's completely fine. In main 2 we can just do the full RB combo, because we didn't get to do it last turn. We can go link any 2 of our machines away for the Funk Dog, look at our opponent's hand, take the Copernicus out, negate its effects, and then we can trigger the field spell, summon the Lambda Blade, dump another RB for Shepherd's Crook to summon back later. We can set the trap. Our opponent knows that they can't win from this position, especially with the Maxi in our hand, so they're just gonna screw. So hopefully I can show off why this deck is so fun and interesting, and why you would even want to play a deck like this, where you just play pure Crystrons, but you also mix in a bit of RB without playing stage landings at all. So hopefully at least I can spark a bit of interest if you are interested in playing either pure Crystrons or RB hybrid like this. And tell me if you want to see more replays or see me play with other Crystron variants like this. Thanks for watching, goodbye.